Bonjour. Merci de vous être joint à nous aujourd'hui. We are here on Parliament Hill as a coalition spanning the research, science, and post-secondary education ecosystem. As a member of the Coalition for Canadian Research, we represent post-secondary institutions, research hospitals, life science companies, health charities, university faculty, researchers, graduate students, and postdoctoral fellows. We know firsthand how important our research and innovation ecosystem is, and we are calling on the federal government to invest in research in order to position Canada as an ambitious and competitive leader on the world stage. Earlier today, our organizations released an open letter to the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, calling on the government to invest in Canadian research and Canadian science. Nos organisations qui connaissent bien l'importance de notre écosystème de recherche et d'innovation ont publié une lettre ouverte au Premier ministre ainsi qu'à la vice-première ministre et la ministre des Finances, demandant au gouvernement d'investir dans la recherche et la science canadienne. For the last 2 years, the government has failed to fund basic science through Canada's granting councils, NSERC, SSHRC, and CIHR. We cannot and will not let the government continue to let our students, our researchers, and our innovators down. Today's open letter was signed by the Association of Faculties of Medicine of Canada, Canadian Alliance of Student Associations, Canadian Association of University Teachers, Evidence for Democracy, Federation for the Humanities and Social Sciences, HealthCareCAN, Health Charities Canada, Research Canada, Support Our Science, U15 Canada, and Universities Canada. I would now like to invite my colleague Sarah from Support Our Science.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today as a PhD student and Executive Director of Support Our Science, a grassroots organization advocating for increased funding to graduate students and postdoctoral scholars in Canada who have not seen an increase in federally funded scholarships since 2003. These are our next generation of researchers and innovators, studying the grand challenges that we face as a nation today and tomorrow. Their pay has seen no index for inflation, no recognition of increased costs, and no acknowledgement of our cost of living crisis. Everything has become difficult to afford in 2023. Now imagine paying for it in 2003 dollars. As a result, we are losing our highly trained scientists to the United States and Europe, where they can make 2 to 3 times more than they do here in Canada. This means our businesses are losing highly skilled workers. This means that every day we are failing Canadian innovation by defining who can take on the financial challenges of higher education and excluding those who can't. Let us be clear, these are not isolated losses. Collectively, they signify a shrinking talent pipeline, jeopardizing our nation's competitive edge and pushing us to fall further behind our competitors. We are calling for an immediate increase to graduate student scholarships, postdoctoral fellowships, and fundamental research grants provided through the federal granting agencies. Our future, our innovation, and our global standing depend on these investments. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite my colleague, Stephanie Michaud, to speak.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Funding Canadian research will mean that we're better prepared for tomorrow's big challenges, from climate change to future pandemics. There are so many amazing Canadian innovations that have come out of our universities and research institutions in partnership with industry. And for example, insulin, liquid nanoparticles, plexiglass, and the search function. We can never know exactly what challenges lie ahead of us as a society, but a robust research and innovation ecosystem means that we will have a talented pool of problem solvers that are well positioned to look for solutions to tomorrow's problems. Canada has a history of making significant investments in research. It's why we are now seen as global leaders in artificial intelligence and in quantum. Research capacity is a key driver of innovation outcomes and industrial growth in modern economies around the world, and crucial to tackling many of the pressing challenges of our times. We saw this during the pandemic when our researchers, faculty, clinician researchers, postdocs, students pivoted their research programs and retooled their labs to help address urgent needs. But in many ways, this was par for the course, because behind the scenes, our researchers are constantly working to find answers to society's big questions. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Gabriel Miller, President and CEO of the Federation for the Humanities and Social Sciences.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm here today on behalf of the Federation for the Humanities and Social Sciences, a diverse group of disciplines that account for almost 50% of Canada's university researchers. Now more than ever, we need new ideas and highly qualified talent to meet the challenges of our time. From the rapid advances of artificial intelligence to the threats posed by climate change, our most urgent issues demand knowledge and expertise across all fields of study. Unfortunately, while other countries are making significant new research investments, Canada is dragging its feet. While Canada falls behind, countries like the United States, Germany, and Japan are putting research investments front and center in their economic strategies. There's a real risk of a brain drain of top talent if Canada is not matching the funding and supports offered to researchers, and specifically to our graduate students and postdoctoral fellows who are facing 2 decades of declining investment. Canada will need the best and the brightest from around the world if we are to compete. We risk losing this vital talent to other countries due to a lack of government funding. It's time for the federal government to act. Next, I'd like to introduce Brad Waters, Executive Vice President of Science and Research at University Health Network, representing HealthCareCAN.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here today representing HealthCareCAN, a national association that represents hospitals, health authorities, healthcare and research organizations across Canada. HealthCareCAN's members and institutions include over 8,000 scientists and over 60,000 research staff across the country. I'm also the Executive Vice President at UHN and part of an amazing group of academic hospitals in Canada. The top 40 hospital-based research institutes in our country carry out over $3 billion annually in research every year. And our research sector in Canada is a tremendous driver of wealth, health, and equity for our nation. Alongside our world-class universities, we strongly believe that Canada has the potential to be a global leader in health and health sciences research. Unfortunately, Canada's health research ecosystem is falling behind internationally because for too long, health research and innovation has been under-prioritized and underfunded by the federal government. It's past time for the government to make a major investment in Canadian research. Canada's ability to compete globally is shrinking. The research environment is fragile. There are too few tri-council grants, and the ones that are awarded are too small, and our critical trainees, our students, and our postdoctoral researchers are paying the price. Their support has fallen well behind that in other peer countries, and we're losing talent both to other industries and to other countries. Canada needs to raise its collective ambition and recognize the link between investment in research and our collective future prosperity. I'm now pleased to turn the podium to Sadie McAleer, representing the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations.
Hello, my name is Sadie, and I'm the chair of the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations, and I also serve as the president of the Acadia Students' Union. Through our formal partnership with La Union Étudiante du Québec, CASA represents 365,000 undergraduate, graduate, college, and polytechnic students. Post-secondary students across Canada strongly urge the government to renew the core funding of the federal granting councils, NSERC, SSHRC, and CIHR. Much of this funding goes directly to graduate students and supports critical research of the future. We call on the government to fund competitive graduate-level scholarships and postdoctoral fellowships. These vital supports have been frozen for 2 decades. This impacts students' ability to afford to study and research in Canada and is a major barrier in deciding to advance education as a graduate student. This support for the granting councils is the foundation for positioning Canada as an attractive place to study, train, and work. It is critical to set up industry and entrepreneurs to invest in tomorrow's innovation. An ambitious reinvestment will make Canada a place for individuals to pursue transformational research with support from the government. Thank you, and I'll now pass it over to my colleague Leah Cowan from U15 Canada to close us off.
Thank you. So all of our organizations have been working together. Undergraduates, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, university faculty, universities, research hospitals, health charities, and life sciences companies, because we know that now is the time for the federal government to act to support Canadian research and researchers. We are concerned that if the government does not provide competitive levels of funding, there will be long-term consequences for our economy, industrial development, and our society. Researchers and research in universities, labs, and libraries across the country is experiencing great challenges every day. Already, funding is flatlining, and this is making it extraordinarily difficult to find funding for a project or to keep a researcher's best students in their lab. If we don't act, this will only get worse. Other leading countries in the world are embracing science and research as the way in which they are going to build a resilient, sustainable, and prosperous society. This is an opportunity to invest in a successful future underpinned by a vibrant research ecosystem. But in Canada, we are losing focus on that. Canada must match the ambition of our peers to ensure support for our highly qualified talent so that we can continue to compete on the global stage. Canada can be a world leader, but not without investment in our knowledge economy. We hope that this letter to the federal government and the ambitious and urgent investments that we have outlined today can help achieve that vision. Thank you very much for coming. We would be delighted to take any questions.
We don't have questions at this point. If you would like to add something, please do so. No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.